Let's head to the irrigation analysis tab. We'll go ahead and we'll look at the olives for now. You'll have the two different pump systems that you've got here, as well as the certain zones or blocks that you have under that pump system. What we see that's similar with all of these tabs, weather, soil moisture, and irrigation, is that they have a similar setup. The time selectors up at top, all the settings, reports, crop data, and data summaries are on the right, and then your charts are going to be right here in the middle. As well as logs, alerts, and the data table. All of these, though, are particular or pertinent to what's being viewed. So since we're in the irrigation chart, you're only going to be able to see irrigation variables. If we were in soil moisture, we could see soil moisture depths and all that data. Same thing with weather. Right up here at the time selector, we can click on a calendar date, click back a month, view historic data. You can also click how much data you'd like to see right here on the screen, as well as in the data summary. So if I was to click on 1 month, we would see more irrigation events here, as well as new data on the data summary. So now this data summary is pertaining to this entire month, which will also correlate with the data table down here that you can export to Excel, giving you a daily breakdown from the 1st of this month to the 21st that you can export to Excel and create a report from there. Another way to create a report is right here. You can do an irrigation report by the zone, so by this olives schedule set, or by the entire pump system. In this case, we would go to the almonds section where we have two different zones. We could click on zone 3, go to irrigation by pump system. Now we can see irrigations for zone 3 and zone 4 in a totalized report for the duration of an entire month. We head back to the olives scheduled set. To scroll here, we can see different irrigation events in inches. How those inches are calculated is by the run time, and it takes into calculation with the flow per minute, so average GPM, as well as the acreage for the entire block that you're irrigating. If I was to click on this specific irrigation, it would take me to a new window. I would see a Gantt chart view of when it was scheduled, so on the 8th. Scroll down here, we can see pressure after the filter and the flow meter. We can look at flow, look at these drops, turn it off, turn on pressure. This helps us really visualize how many flushes that we're having throughout the irrigation. When these spike down, it's usually signifying a flush. We're looking at an average of around 29 to 30 psi. We want to turn them back on, we can see how they correlate together. What this blue line is the theoretical flow. So it's flow that we determine beforehand when we're starting up the system. So if they tell you, your flow is 175 gallons a minute, we went in here, entered 175, and this is what we're actually reading off the flow meter. So we can see that we're a little over that. We're right around averaging about 198. Down here, we can see the irrigation status. So how many gallons in theoretical volume versus what actually happened. So a volume of 10.66% difference, so more than what's theoretically scheduled. It was an 18-hour irrigation. It says 17:59:59, but just know it's a matter of 1 second. Here's the actual flow. It was executed okay, and then there we can see the average pressure. Click out of here. Same capabilities you have on the other charts. You can scroll and zoom to view these more in depth. You can turn them off, turn them on. On this chart up here, we're seeing evapotranspiration, how much the plants are actually drinking, irrigations, as well as rainfall. We can see here that we had some rain late in the season. If you needed to, you can save this image, or we need to blow it up. so you can see it better. There you go. Same thing with up top. You can scroll and zoom here to look at your pressures. You can see that we're going, and then we flush, flush. And similar to the others, we have these markers. You can position them here and here. We can see a series. So from the 4th of May to the 10th of May, we're looking at the average accumulated pressure, accumulated evapotranspiration, irrigation, and rainfall. If you wanted to, you can see maximums, averages, looking at average. And this is only low because it's taking into account the low readings after the pump is stopping. But you can see average pressures in the irrigations like we did right before when I clicked on this button and it showed us the average irrigation pressure. Click on it once more just to show you. There's your average pressure. To delete these markers, all you have to do is click the X. To create a new log or a chat with another person or another user, you can say right here, click up top. You can go ahead and say hi, ET. Save, and there you go, you have a log saved. To check that, as a user, you'd be able to see if it's someone else created it, you'd be able to answer them. But as the creator, I can go ahead and edit, explain, answer it to explain, or I can just delete it. Alerts. The alerts here are going to be specific to irrigation variables. So what we have to choose from is the level on the reservoir, pressures after the filter station, or flows off the main flow meter. We can go look and set a high pressure threshold of about 33 psi. After the first occurrence and that sensor hits 33 psi, it's going to automatically send a notification. You do have the option to click 5 minutes, 15 minutes. So 15 minutes after it hits 33, you can say, if it did hit 33 again, that there's actually a problem, or it recalibrated itself after 5 minutes. To your average pressure that you're normally seeing, about 27, 28, depending on your account and your irrigation setup. Right here, you're able to enable which user, email, and phone number is going to get the notification. So if you have the option to do an email, a text message, or a robocall. You need someone else's address entered, you can go ahead and save. Remove this. Click save. Now we can see we have a high pressure variable alert. Right here we have the settings tab. So you can come in here, rename your certain block, rename the crop. You can type in the correct acreage, the correct flow, or that theoretical flow that you believe it's supposed to be, as well as your plant strippers and your crop coefficient. For certain crops, the crop coefficient will be different, and they usually use an agronomist or someone to come into the account and kind of determine where the crop's at in the season, and you can always change the KC, as well as available water and field capacity in the soil moisture analysis chart. But for here, we're looking at the acreage and flow, which is basically what we're using to calculate how many inches that are going to be applied throughout the season. So if you're doing a 12-hour irrigation, it's going to take into account the acreage and the flow to give you how many inches or acre feet that you've applied throughout the irrigation events you've had on the ranch. You can click save, and they'll save all the settings for you. And then it'll populate down here what we've got. The data summary also is pertaining to this here, just like we covered earlier. If I change it back to 2 weeks, this data is going to change, as well as the data table down here.